NSFW, what unexpectedly turned you on? I was in Japan and had a crush on a woman from South France. Returned to the US. In line for fast food. And I hear a woman behind me speaking with a southern French accent. Popped a boner in line for a slice of pizza. When I was a kid, I saw Mona Lisa from my grammar school art book. The first time I saw her, with hands on her knee, how do I say this? I had a boner. The first time I used a riding lawnmower when I was like 12, all the vibrating gave me a raging hard-on. To this day whenever I use one to mow I get at least half a stock. Coming down off a DMT trip, and there is no easy way to say this, I masturbated thinking about my bedroom door. My, at the time fiancé, was in school to be an engineer. Meanwhile, I was struggling to get through algebra. She sat down with me and began to explain the logic behind the equations I was using. The more she talked, the wetter I became. Finally, I couldn't ignore my primal instinct any longer and I had her right there on the kitchen table. It ended up happening almost every time she tried to talk math to me from then on. Brief eye contact with my tattoo artist while he was tattooing me. I would be nervous that he wasn't looking at the tattoo. A girl I was friends with had apparently been giving me hints for a while that I hadn't been picking up on. One time we are hanging out and she goes to take a pee. She yells at me from the bathroom to come here. I walk up to the door and ask her what she needs. With no hesitation she says, "Come in here, I want you to watch me pee." Unexpected turn on for some reason. When it comes to that woman, you're feeling anything she does is such a turn on. Just me personally, but man, women are just great all around. Bite my earlobe. It was great until my cat apparently figured it out and now it's how she wakes me up. Once my boyfriend and I were cooking dinner together and halfway through it was ruined because he hadn't kept his eye on the hot pan. It was one of the first times he had tried to cook something somewhat fancy for me. Plus it was late and we were both hungry and tired. Normally he's very kind and gentle, but he got super frustrated and slammed his hand against the wall, swearing. It was startling and at first, I was a bit scared, then I got super turned on by it. Older women who give off dom mommy vibes. Once had an older woman with that short silver fox haircut and a stronger jaw call me a good girl while I was at work because I did something right with her order that nobody else could for some reason. I'm a relatively straight female. Or am I? Well, I don't know. When I was at the airport and had like 20,000 Norwegian kroner in cash and wanted to exchange it to euro, took me a long time to count, but this bank woman at the airport just took my money. It did some magic with her fingers that went so fast I couldn't believe it, and she knew within seconds how much money I gave her. But more than that, the whole way she acted with the whole transaction was so unbelievable professional. I have never experienced anything like that level of professionalism in my entire life. How could I not be turned on by the most pro woman I have ever seen? The flatbread at Subway suddenly seemed very sensual and seemed to have a skin-like texture. It quickly passed and was replaced with WTF. Hey, a lot of people have a sub-kink. Admittedly, a tad different from yours usually. That scene in GoldenEye where Xenia Onatopp squeezes that guy to death awoke something in me at a very young age. Late to the party, but whatever. Being in my tent, like, I don't even know. When I'm camping and I retire to my tent, slip into my sleeping bag and zip up the little tent door. I have no idea, but apparently that really does it for me. What a strangely pure fetish. The fact that the guy the first likes to be insulted. You like that? You retard. This guy the first was seeing called customer service to get a company error corrected. He used the softest, firmest, most understanding tone I've ever heard and I lost my damn mind. When I was a freshman in college, an English boy in one of my classes said the phrase war of attrition with his English accent and I had to go take a breather. Shame that there's a lot of British accents that makes us sound like we are having a stroke. My fiancé makes this sound when he's turned on by something I'm doing or that he's looking at on me, but it can be a problem sometimes because he sometimes uses the same sound when he sees like an ad for food that looks really good. When I worked in a pharmacy as a stocker, once I spilled some of that Kai warming lube on myself as a bottle had cracked open in transit and like, Why did I get turned on? It's unexplainable, but it happened. I bought some after I clocked out. Was in bed with my girlfriend and the remote was at the end of the bed. I sit up and basically lazily reach for it on all fours. I'm in some boxer briefs that have a pouch-like thing for your junk, so when I bent over, my ball bulge was pretty much in her face. She just playfully punched me in the balls and it hurt and stung, but I almost instantly got hard. I'm now laying on my back holding my balls in protection. She can see the outline of my obvious boner though and starts laughing confusedly. She volunteered to blow me as an apology, and since I was already hard, I asked her to tap my balls a little throughout and I nutted harder than ever. Basically now all of our foreplay commences with light ball busting. Cock and ball torture. First off, I'm a guy, so my high school had a darkroom for a black and white film photography program. I was the only boy in the course. There were about 10 to 15 girls in the class. I was pretty good, and by my junior year, I had been involved in the program longer than any other student. Having so much experience led to me being a good place to go for advice on printing their photos. I would go to the station to figure things out, and the same 3 friends of mine that were girls in that class would come up behind me and rest their chin on my right shoulder, and that would always wake me up. I never expected something like that to send goosebumps up and down my body, and warrant a reaction downstairs, but it happened, and I took it in stride from then on. A couple years back, my girlfriend at the time and I used to have sex while Pandora played. Every once in a while a car insurance commercial would play in the middle of songs. We laughed it off, but it didn't distract us from doing the deed. Fast forward a couple years forward and I hear that same car insurance commercial. Instant erection. So when I was in my early teens and just discovering sex, I decided that since I was a bit of an artist, I could draw porn for myself. I started with a vag and that was all well and good. But then I decided to try a dick and suddenly sproing. I was not expecting that in the slightest. Paint me like one of your repressed tendencies. A friend told me she had a being choked fetish while we were Black Friday shopping. So, obviously, I jokingly choked her in the middle of a crowded Target. Almost nutting at 11:27 p.m. in the middle of a Target is how I discovered I like choking. ETA. I am female. Still like choking people. One day at work we had a day when we needed to dress business smart. Usually we dress very casually, and my coworker, who usually dresses in baggy shirts and jeans, wore a full-fitted suit, and oh man. My girlfriend, when she picked up a knife, didn't expect that one. I really like having my knees rubbed. I could have an orgasm over it. Nothing gets me hot like a nice wibbly-wobbly pair o' knees. When my husband looks back when he's backing in the car. Physical therapy. A no-bullshit Indian lady is working on my neck. I start to droop my head. She unceremoniously yanks me back into position. Keep your head up. Damn. Yes, mistress. When my so jokingly bit my butt, I was lying naked on the bed after a shower and he straight up bit my butt cheek as a joke, and dang, it did things. An ex-boyfriend lecturing me about money. I don't think it was the context. Just the way he did it. Like a stern father, he did a lot of things in a stern, disapproving dad way, and IDK, it was hot. I guess this means I have daddy issues. IDK. In modern times it seems like daddy issues, but it basically is your brain saying he sounds like a dad when he does this. He would make a good dad. I should make him a dad. I should mate with him. Or something along those lines. I wouldn't worry about. Stirring. Like stirring around batter or something in a big mixing bowl. Don't know why. Don't know how to describe it. The motion. Or maybe when the spoon scrapes against the bowl. No clue. Hung out mini-golfing with a group of friends. Our resident goof was being her typical self. Kinda ditzy and along for the ride, but not very skilled. Just sorta aloof. Also, she's into me, but it's unfortunately not mutual. We all went to play pool as a last-minute decision, and as it turns out, her aunt has a pool table in her house and she's been playing for ages every week. She snapped instantly into an extremely unusual focus and level of skill. The pool cue was an extension of the body that she was moving across, on, and around the table, like it was a sophisticated dance that nobody knew better than her. I have never been more aroused by that woman than I was that night, ever since. It's been the same group dynamic. She's been the same person that I'm platonically friends with. I'll never forget how she woke something up in me that night though, or how weird it was. I don't know what it is, but something about the just woke up look really gets me, like messy hair and loose pajamas. Shit's my kryptonite. Taking a Greek mythology course and the tar, a curvy redhead, said if you want to talk about mythology for hours on end, I'm your girl. Fear. Years ago I was playing the first Bioshock with an ex in a fully darkened room with a wall-sized projector. At some point we came across an operating room where the lights were flickering, blood everywhere, and then got jump-scared by a psycho doctor. Full on threw that controller across the room and jumped into his arms. Shortly after we got busy. Years later when my mom died I uncovered her old stash of Omni magazines where I found an article on the fear response and sexual arousal, and it all made sense. My boyfriend speaking Gaelic to me for the first time. He was just telling me what the police are called in Ireland, but talk about a waterfall. Fingers. Long and lithe, or thin and short, male or female. Something about graceful fingers turns me on. I am an older college student 38 who has been fortunate enough to fall in with a friend group of younger students. Being the oldest and, presumably, the wisest, they have taken to calling me dad, pops, etc. One day, one of the young ladies called me daddy. Are you attractive? 'Cause it was on purpose. I don't have a medical fetish, but for some reason medical scrubs do it for me. My wife doesn't really ever swear, except when we are doing the deed. Then she throws around F-bombs freely. One day she kicked the corner of the table and screamed out a loud "Fuck." I had a Pavlovian response in my shorts. I don't know if this counts, but I used to go to physical therapy for a back injury when I was about 17. After each session of exercises they would give you a massage and then an ice pack, as well as patch you with an electrical stimulating device. The routine massage came about and the guy that was working on me pushed a certain part of my buttocks that made me just unload my balls into my pants. Like he found a damn nuclear launch button in my glute area. My embarrassment was immeasurable and my day was ruined. Skipped the ice pack and electrical stimuli. On the phone with this guy, there's some history with us, and he said shut up, bitch, mostly jokingly. Instant and confused arousal on my end. Went to yoga with my lady friend. At the end of the class, the instructor had us all lie on our backs on our mats and she was humming or lightly singing. Then she rubbed a lemony oil on our shoulders and foreheads. And the touching and humming gave me a braingasm, and I've been into ASMR ever since. It just happens. I just went to a barber shop for the first time and the available barber was a female. I figured I'd be safest with her. All the other barbers are large men with lots of tattoos, which I find sexy as hell. Long beards, sharp hair, UNF. So said female barber starts working on my hair and I instantly got a lady boner. She was so precise with her hand movements. Not one motion wasted. The gentle deliberate way she worked on my hair. Faded sides, I have a mohawk of sorts, and the straight blade cleanup really put my mind in a difficult place. She was definitely not my type, but it did not matter. She put a warm towel on my neck and gave me what I am so glad was not the best massage I'd ever had. Because if she had, I'm pretty sure I would have moaned audibly. In 30 minutes I had so many shivers shoot down my spine, and as a result I definitely needed sex. She was nothing but the perfect example of professionalism and respect. But she was so skilled that I noticed through her hand movements. I only had to say once what I wanted. She heard every word and executed it perfectly. Passion for your work may also be a thing of mine. Driving off cliffs in video games. Falling in them in general. Also those videos of people jumping around on very high ledges and buildings. Finally something just plain fucking weird. My friend and I have a lot of sexual tension, but we don't do anything cause, well, friends. Just last week it was really hot and we were sitting out to eat. He went damn it's hot and unbuttoned one button of his shirt with one hand. It was probably one of the most intense yet least intense things I've ever seen him do. My look of longing was probably way too obvious. Lol. Friends make the best lovers, then the best spouses. Ask him if he'd give dating a try.